Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet Rayne, and today my guest is Whitney Riley. She is a transformational mentor who has 25 years experience transforming her life from bad relationships to good relationships, from weight issues to weight happiness, from oppressive grief to lightness of being, from autoimmune disorder to healthy, from financial issues to financial freedom. She has condensed her learning into a powerful, proven method to help others start their better lives now. She's a certified EFT practitioner, founder of Specific Meditation Technique, and author of 2 books, Making Everything Easier, Get What You Want by Healing the Hidden Resistance, and Emotional Soufflé. What a great title. It makes me wonder, doesn't it? So welcome Whitney to the show. Of course, we've been chatting for probably 15 minutes before the show, so this should be really good and interesting. But share with our community here how you got to how did you get through all of that, and how did you find your way through all of those challenges and opportunities?
Well, first, hi, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here with you. I think like many of us, my life took some unexpected turns, some initiated by me making a difficult choice, education-wise, like going from physics to studying fine art, not knowing how that was going to work out. And then life handed me some big challenges through grief and with my parents, and a panic disorder that kind of arose out of nowhere and decided to linger for longer than I liked. And then choosing to find the holistic and spiritual path to healing that, which I have. And then along came the final topper was an autoimmune disorder that didn't really have a name, didn't have a treatment plan. It was just coping with the symptoms. And again, I kind of took an alternative path, and the universe, or coincidences, which I don't really believe in, came along and helped get me over the last hurdle with EFT. That was kind of the last thing. But I've collected all these little pieces, and then at one point, I knew I was here to share those, to help other people do it quicker, faster, better than I did it.
I love that. I love that. I'm with you. I believe there are no coincidences. I believe we're led based on our path, what we chose to come here and experience. I think we're led in different directions. But I also think the universe, all of us have experienced lots of chaos, lots of challenges, lots of opportunities in the last few years. I have this conversation all the time where people are like, I just want it to be normal again. I don't think normal exists anymore. I think this is our normal. I as we move through all that, it's really hard. And one of the conversations you wanted to talk about, which I think is really relevant, is why is change so hard? Why do we have a hard time moving through something different? And why is change so difficult for us?
I think there are smaller and bigger sizes of that, right? So we're talking globally, like, why is change? Well, it's happening to us and forcing us, right? So when we talk about that kind of change, it's like, well, then resistance, our worldview, how we want it to be, comes and pushes back. And anytime you have resistance, you're going to have struggle, pain, difficult feelings. And that's natural. I think that's really natural. I think that we're all faced with what, you know, something new looks like. There's always uncertainty there. And almost anytime you introduce uncertainty in the human condition, that triggers deeper responses of survival that are all unique and patterned inside of us. So you have all of these hijacking qualities taking over the brain and the nervous system and the body, and then operating, kind of running amok and crashing into other people who are triggered. And that doesn't make it any easier as well. But then on a personal level, if you bring it in and go, okay, well, this is the world and I accept that, like you said, the new normal. And how am I going to do the personal change? That's hard too, because of similar pieces of us that resist being in the flow of now, protecting the past from things they don't want to happen anymore, projecting that into the future, that it's going to happen. And so we shrink the present moment, and you can't just, adapt so easily.
It is difficult. I mean, simple things. And I think everybody is experiencing that COVID really turned our world upside down and changed everything for us. Because prior to COVID, we probably didn't shop online as much as we do today, right? It's so easy to pick up your phone and place an order and it shows up on your doorstep. It's so easy to have food delivered to you now. There are multiple ways to do that for lunch or for dinner. I mean, all that's changed, right? And how we look at it. And I have people that are business people. They're like, well, we always advertised and marketed this way. Well, it doesn't work anymore. It's like, that's not the way to do it. And then I think sometimes stepping back and saying, okay, I surrendered to the new, the change. But now what am I supposed to do? Now, how creative can I get in trying to navigate? And I think we just have to have a broader mind on what all that looks like. And it can be tough sometimes to stand back and go, wow, the world's changed. Now I'll show you how old I am. I still miss having somebody put gas in my car, wash my windows, and check my oil. And if I could get that back, that was really nice to be able to pull up to the pump and somebody would run out, put gas in your car, wash your windows, check your oil. See, I'm showing my age. Most of you watching probably have never had that done. But it was amazing and we don't see that anymore, right? So
there's one place in Houston that I know of, maybe there's more, where they still have that service. And sometimes I'll give myself a little treat. And I'm like, today, and check your tire pressure. And you're just sitting there in the car. And it is lovely. It's a very lovely thing that used to be very common.
yeah, everywhere. It was everywhere. You never got out and pumped your gas. You always had somebody else that pumped it. It's kind of the way the world was, right? And I miss that because that's gone, right? We have lots of things shifting and changing. I'm sure everybody's experiencing restaurants or stores that were their favorite places that are no longer exist anymore. So the world,
Our service in general has, I got a phone all over chat. We had to update, and I was like, this is crazy. I mean, I guess you're technically talking to someone, right? But there's a separation between the human connection, or at least the way I envision human connection. So,
well, yeah, and most of the stores are having less checkouts, less people checking you out, less face-to-face conversation, right? There's just less and less of that. In fact, some of the restaurants, you go in and order at a station and then you pick it up at another station and there's really not anybody there kind of talking to you. And it's like, it's all changing and I get that. And I really understand that, but it's a big change, I think, in a world that we're like, okay, I miss going and sitting in a restaurant and having a meal and a conversation and in a space, going to a store and shopping for clothes. There's very few of those anymore left that you can go and actually touch the fabric and all of that. So in this change, how do we navigate through that? Now, one of the conversations Whitney and I was having was about being perfect. And I love that conversation. So I want to bring it back. There's a couple perspectives of this, and I think we're similar. We're just saying it a little different. I believe we're all sacred divine beings, but I don't believe our life was meant to be perfect. I think our opportunities and our challenges in this physical human realm help us evolve and grow. So as you connect with someone, as you make a friend, as you have a boss, if you have a parent, wherever direction you want to go, none of those humans are perfect in how they look at things to your measurement of perfect. That's what I'm saying. Putting people on a pedestal, or yourself setting a bar that says you must have perfection, you must be perfect in everything you say and do. I don't think that's the expectation. I also don't believe there's a wrong choice. I think it's an experience. Whatever you choose, because I have lots of people that come to me and go, I have these two things. Which one should I choose? There is no wrong choice. There's no wrong choice. There's a different experience attached to each choice we make. But I don't think there's a wrong choice. I don't think it takes you away from who you are or where you're supposed to be going. I think the universe keeps us on track. And so you were talking, Whitney, about in your book, you talk about perfect as you start in your book. So share with us your perspective.
I think it overlaps, like you said. There is a definite similarity. My idea is like the idea of perfection can contract us and keep us chasing the golden carrot on a stick. So there's always going to be distance between us and perfection, no matter how far we achieve. And bringing that idea of perfection inside, in the messiness, in the chaos of the human experience. If you're just a big, messy bag of bones who doesn't know what the next thing is going to be, you're sitting there, COVID struck, maybe it broke up some things, maybe political polarity has come, weather, chaos, all these things, and you're just paralyzed and filled with all the things you would rather not be filled with. Emotionally and thought wise. I'm saying that is perfect already. There's never been a separation between you and your own innate perfection. As we're having the human experience, so much like you, there's choices. Can you make the wrong one? I mean, we can get to a place where there's certainly a better choice, but generally, you're this being having an experience. And you are perfect already. You're perfect before you lose the 10 pounds. You're perfect before you make the next dollar. You're perfect before you find the love of your life or after you lose the love of your life. Every moment is perfect. We're just in the discomfort or the pressure to then make a new choice to find a new version of perfection. So when you bring that inside, you're always in alignment with loving yourself, at least accepting that it's a possibility, instead of saying, well, I'm going to love myself when I catch the golden, right? And then that transmutes into how you interact with other people in the messy bumpiness of the human experience.
It's kind of around the same idea of chasing happiness, right? I'll be happy when I have this. I'm going to be happy when I buy this house. I'll be happy when I have that job. I'll be happy when I make this much money. You're always chasing something versus if you can stand in it. I'm happy now, exactly where I'm at, because if you think about it, you have things that other people don't have that would love to have, that would be happy to be right exactly where you are. I mean, there's some truth to that, right? And in reality.
Well, and to expand on that, you have things now that at one point earlier in your life, you couldn't figure out how you were going to get there. Hedonic adaptation quickly makes us devalue the successes, even if it's just one day sober or, making $10 more a year. I mean, they can be smaller accomplishments, but to add on to what you're saying, we devalue how much we have overcome. Even if we're just here, we're struggling and we go, you know what, today I'm going to stay here.
Well, it's
That's
funny
huge.
because my daughter and I were having this conversation, and it brings it up this week. Most people don't realize how poor I was in my life when I had my children, and some of the experiences we were having based on really how poor we were. And my goal was to pull us out of that into another level. I didn't want my children to ever experience what I had experienced. And her and I were having this discussion that for most people looking in, they would be saying, wow, you really made a difference, not only in your life, but your children's lives, your grandchildren's lives. You really made a difference, and her too. And she's like, but there's still things that I feel like I need, right, to feel like I've achieved something. But in the reality, we've achieved a lot in what we have accomplished so far, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that
But I think a
gratitude.
lot of us have a version of what you're saying. We're not just this dot sitting there. It's like we have accomplished so much by waking up and doing what seemed impossible at
Yeah.
one point. And that is a
Doing
huge accomplishment.
right, doing the work, right? Now,
Mhm.
I'm sure there are people out there that are still slow and steady. They're exactly where they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But they've chosen that too. They've gotten comfortable with where they're at and who they are. And um, maybe they're not motivated to do the work. Maybe they're not inspired for anything more. Maybe this is what they want for this lifetime. This is their experience. And that's okay too, right?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay
Yeah.
too, to be
Yeah.
there, right?
On any level.
Right?
I think even some of the most difficult things that we look at that cause us pain at witnessing someone else, if they are stuck and happy in maybe an addiction or a lower vibrational situation, and that is okay. I think part of that perfection, when you're like, well, and I'm achieving this, but now I want to keep achieving, that is perfect and that is great. But when you accept this perfection, there's a grace that you give somebody. I think we always want to keep the door open to being the healthiest, happiest versions of ourselves. And we want to share that with the world, especially as I think coaches, healers, mentors. We desperately want to give hope and help and tangible ways to get there. But loving that person in their mess and trusting that the universe and this person is having the journey that is correct for them.
Mm-hmm. Whether that's a relationship, I know many people have people that they love and care about, friends, family, that are in relationships, and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish they would make a change. But the truth is, they've chosen that for some reason that you may not understand or completely understand on a soul level. And I love that you say, we should give them grace and allow them to be in that space without judgment, without criticism, without sympathy or any of that, just grace. I'm going to give you grace that you know what you're doing, and that is your choice to make. And I'm going to support you on what that is, and just let it be, right?
Well, it's already difficult. It's already difficult if they're experiencing difficulty. So to have grace sometimes makes it easier for somebody to figure out the next steps than saying, you need to get out, you need to toss that guy, that girl, that job, that, whatever it is. That's just
Mhm.
more resistance. And then we resist back on the resistance, and we're not able to use any part of us to be open to possible solutions, you know?
Right. Right. I agree. We always need more compassion. You know, we need more compassion for everyone. So I love this sentence. What bugs you is the door to your hidden resistance. So share a little bit about that. I love that. It's called the treasure trail.
The treasure trail, that's right. The thing that bugs you is literally the key that opens the door to the pathway to the hidden part or parts that are operating against logic. We can stack tons of knowledge and learn new things and new ways and new methods. But if we're not ever changing that thing that's bugging us, those parts are doing a job established, maybe at birth, maybe in the womb, maybe when you're 10, maybe when you're 15, maybe 2 years ago, some traumatic shift happened. And those parts do not know how to tell time. They do not know that you're in a different place. And when anything happens, they come and hijack your brain, and you think you're being reasonable when they're running the show. And so if you notice now, when you start to feel bugged or really bugged, and instead of acting on it and doing all the things like maybe falling in on yourself, an addiction of choice or behavior, or a blame game or judgment game, just go, why is that bugging me? What part of me is threatened? What part of me is operating to keep me safe in the only way it knows how? And if I'm a little kid and somebody's being mean or aggressive, I might have made the trade to be seen and open and bright to stay safe, hiding. And that habit's going to keep happening no matter what. When you're trying to stand out and share your gift with the world, every threat, you're going to shrink back down and you're going to think it's because I'm broken. And it's not. It's just there's a little young version who's driving the bus.
I love that. I love that. So being aware of that and really stepping into that, what can we do to shift that? And so I know for a great example for me is when it gets tough or it's stressful, emotional eating is my friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last 9 months to a year, my husband's health, we've been really focused on getting him through several different spaces, different things happening, getting him better, getting him to the next. And each time I turn to emotional eating because it's my comfort. So instead of doing that, how do I switch that if I'm aware that that's exactly happening? How do I move through that transformation?
This is the juicy part. This is the part I love. So as quickly as possible, and for all the listeners, maybe you want to get a pen and paper, or bookmark this and circle back, because I'm going to try and give as much of actionable tools as I can. One of the most powerful things, and you don't need to carry anything around, is called constricted breathing. And if you're familiar with EFT, it goes along with that. If you're not, I'll quickly run through it. But you tap on the side. First of all, you just take a normal breath, 2 or 3, and you notice. So let's say, like, okay, this is a big deal. This is my husband. This is my partner in life. This is health. This is all the hard parts of that, right? That are never pleasant. And you feel it yourself going, okay, here I come. Got to get my comfort, got to get my friend that never disappoints, right? And you go, okay, well, how much, before I do that, I'm just going to take inventory. How much am I breathing? And we can all do this right now. Just take a breath. From 0 to 100%, how much are you breathing of your lung capacity?
Probably
80%.
40.
40. Yeah, some people 20%. So then you just go, we'll use yours on the side of the hand. You'll say, even though, and you'll tap along if you're listening, even though I'm breathing 40%,
even though I'm breathing 40%,
I'm sending myself so much love.
I'm sending myself so much love.
Even though this situation really physically impacts me. And how could I possibly feel okay?
How can I possibly feel okay?
So I get to feel this way
So I get to feel this way
and breathe only 40% of my lung capacity.
and breathe only 40% of my lung capacity.
And I'm going to send myself love no matter what,
And I'm going to send myself love no matter what,
because I get to have this experience
because I get to have this experience.
and it isn't who I am.
And it isn't who I am.
And then you'll just go top of the head,
Top of the head,
breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
And then eyebrow is right on your eyebrow where it starts by your nose. I'm only breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
Side of the eye is right on the orbital bone on either side of your eye. I'm only breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
And it makes sense
And it makes sense
based on what I'm experiencing.
based on what I'm experiencing.
Under the eye is on that orbital bone right under the pupil if you're looking forward. I'm only breathing 40% and I'm sending my body so much love.
I'm only breathing 40% and I'm sending my body so much love.
Under the nose, I'm only breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
And I'm open to breathing more.
And I'm open to breathing more.
But I'm okay.
But I'm okay.
Because it makes sense based on all the details.
Because it makes sense based on all the details.
However, my body is reacting to this really big thing.
However, my body is reacting to this really big thing.
I'm only breathing 40%.
And I'm only breathing 40%.
Rib point is, collarbone was right under your collarbone. Rib point is basically on the first two ribs from the bottom up, kind of right under your nipple line. I'm only breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
I'm only breathing 40%.
And I allow myself to be here.
And I allow myself to be here.
Because it makes sense.
Because it makes sense.
Under the arm, I'm sending myself so much love.
I'm sending myself so much love.
Only breathing 40%.
Only breathing 40%.
And top of the head, take a deep breath. Just send yourself a lot of love. And I would recommend doing that at least 3 to 5 rounds. But I can see your whole body language kind of relaxed a little.
But how do you know what to say in each point? Because I think, EFT and tapping is a great technique for those that are really trained to do that. And having a practitioner kind of help you through that. Because a few weeks ago, I also had Dina on here that did the same thing. And I think tapping's really cool if you understand that. But for somebody that's not trained, doesn't understand that, I know you guys kind of probably ad lib a little bit and all of that because you've done it for so long.
Absolutely. And actually, the whole book I wrote was helping somebody get to the most powerful script to change those hidden parts the fastest way and the most loving way possible. So there is that. And my first book, actually, the Emotional Soufflé, was to make tapping like aspirin. Like you don't like to address that, where you can just go, if this is bugging me, what are 3 emotions? And most of the book is just a reference guide for emotions and the definitions. So you find your unique emotions, not just the happy, mad, sad, right? You have this whole beautiful vocabulary of finding how, like maybe you feel befuddled, maybe you feel betrayed, maybe you feel, like that quasi space in between, the sort of shock sensation, right? And so you find your emotions, and then the simplest way is to do it the simplest way for you. Always send yourself love. And if you can't do that, say, I'm open to one day being able to. And then that constricted breathing, I ad-libbed a little. I tried really hard not to, but if that felt like too much, all you have to do is say, I'm only breathing 40%. Keep it there. I'm only breathing 40%. You are an incredible being with so much intelligence that will translate, because while you're kind of meditating on, I'm only breathing 40%, I'm only breathing 40%, I'm only breathing 40%, your body's doing all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's throwing in imagery, it's throwing in the waves of emotion, it's throwing in, thank you for acknowledging me, or whatever is important for you. Like we're all starting where we are. That's the only place where we can start. And you give your body an opportunity to at least align to one moment. And now, okay, let's say you do that and you calm down. You're like, okay, but I'm going to go get the bag of chips, the this, the that, the Chinese food, whatever the thing is. Then just do it gracefully. Like this is where I am right now. And the other EFT tool that is so powerful is I don't know what to do about it. This is overwhelming and I don't know what to do about it. This makes me feel bad about myself and I don't know what to do about it. I really like this, but I don't know what to do about it. It doesn't matter. Just like you acknowledging that, well, you know what I want to do about it. It is so powerful.
Well, and
So
our emotions are really powerful. And I feel like we're onions with a million layers of triggers, of shadows, of emotions, of all that stuff. And being able to continually peel away those pieces to get down to the core of who you are is super powerful.
if you want another tip of actionable tip to do right now that you can pair with EFT, which makes it crazy powerful, or just do to really see all this stuff, because our brain can hold two opposites at the same time. I want to make my business go forward. I can't get on video, right? It can hold two beliefs. I want the cookie. I don't want the cookie, right? It can hold lots of paradoxes. Like if you sit down and write, I sat down and wrote when I was afraid to get on video and kind of take my stuff into the bigger world. I was like, okay, my brain keeps giving me reasons. And so I was like, just write down the reasons. And it was like, I'm too old and too young. I'm not male enough. I'm too female. Like I started laughing. It was hilarious. I was like, no wonder I'm stuck. Because our brain is trying to be who we are, keep us safe, and give us all the delights in the world, all simultaneously. And we are not our brain. Our brain is like a hand or a foot. It is here to serve us. We are the witness. We are the spark that never goes out. And our brain is here to serve us. And I think we bounce around a lot until we realize that, because our brain is always throwing us whatever it needs to throw us based on all the hidden parts, right? So
our brain's trying to protect us, right? Maybe when you were 3 and you were told, don't step out into that road because it's dangerous. Today, you're old enough to be able to look both ways before you step out. I mean, that's a simple, but we've planted some of those fears that may not be our truths, that we don't even remember planting, that our brain is trying to protect us because you thought this, right?
Right.
And to clear that is really, really powerful from a healing perspective.
It looks like a miracle every time I see it. It's amazing. And it's like that. But the 4 square, if you want another tool, just really quickly, take a piece of paper, fold it, hamburger and then hot dog. So you have 4 quadrants. First quadrant, write down, I want whatever it is, right? I want more control over my habits, right? It's kind of generic. You might want to make it more specific. Quadrant 2, you write, I'm afraid of having more control over my habits, or something more specific. And then you write down all the reasons, right? You just let yourself go. Quadrant 3, you write down, I want to stay exactly as I am because, and you write down all the reasons for that. In quadrant 4, you write down, I'm afraid of staying exactly as I am because, and you will see, it's a very grounding exercise to see all the things struggling inside your nervous system that are at odds with each one. And you can rate each one from 0 to 10 and then tap them down, use meditation, and free those things so that it's easy. It just makes, and that's the name of my book, it just makes everything easier when you heal that inner resistance that really makes a lot of sense. It is doing its best to keep you safe and in love and all the things.
Love
It's
that.
not
I love the simplicity of it and the awareness of it so that you can really step in. So I really like that. So remember, those books are Emotional Soufflé is her first book that has tapping in it, some simple steps, if I remember. And
very
then
simple.
her second book is Making Everything Easier, Get What You Want by Healing Hidden Resistance, which goes a little deeper into some of these tools that you can pick up and utilize. Now, also share with us if we wanted to work with you one-on-one, what does that look like, or what are some of the things that you offer?
Well, it's magical and I absolutely love it. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but if you feel the calling, we get started usually with a big desire, a big outcome that you want. And I help you position it in the biggest way possible, right? Because if you do want to work with me, it is big. I call it big magic, and I designed it that way to be like we partner and we work a lot together to get to those hidden parts and get you the freedom that you've desperately been craving, maybe for a lifetime. And for those that want to dip their toe in the water, a lot of the method that I've been developing for 12 years, like really making sure that I could claim a promise, not wanting to disappoint anybody. It's all in the book. And you can kind of try it out at the privacy of your own home and see if it works for you. So there's all in or you know, take a ride in the book and you can always reach out and ask questions.
I love that. I love that. Whitney, this has been so great. I love the tools and techniques. I love being able to share with the audience some things that they can do. And if they want to go deeper, getting that information too, because I think that's really beneficial. I've enjoyed this so much, and I hope someday we get an opportunity to meet each other in person.
That would be lovely. I would love that.
Well, thank you for taking the time today to spend some time with me.
Thank you so much for creating this platform and sharing it with me.
It has been amazing. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Please make sure you like, comment, and follow us on your favorite platforms, whether that's watching our interviews or listening to them. I hope that you will do that. Know that we do have this in video on YouTube if you want to watch it as well. And we always put that in the link with the podcast information. So, I wish you a sacred and magical week, and I hope that we will see you very soon.